One of the original reasons I made this channel was to attempt to rescue our language. Because of course language is very important. Both fortunately and unfortunately, when people hear that language needs rescuing, or when they hear that language is in trouble, they will typically think of George Orwell's Newspeak. And it's fortunate because Newspeak is of course a very important subject, it's something that people should be aware of. But it's unfortunate because Newspeak is pretty obvious. For instance, there's a ton of Newspeak in that Axios Google interview. That interview with Axios and like a CEO of Google, there's a ton of Newspeak in that video, and it's really obvious. Which is exactly why the video containing that interview has 40 likes to 1,600 dislikes. And also why one of the most liked comments on that video is a comment calling out the Newspeak. A comment that says, "Hate speech doesn't exist. Just speech that some authoritarians don't like." Great comment, by the way. However, there is a more important attack on language. And it is a more important attack on language because it is an attack on language that is not very obvious. And not only is it not very obvious, but it's an attack on language that we are all unknowingly taking part in. What on earth am I talking about? I'm talking about the decadence of language that occurs when the masses take over. Something that Jose Ortega y Gasset touches upon in the book The Revolt of the Masses and the book Man and People. Essentially, one of the theories is that when the masses take control of society, one of the many things that begin to decay is language. And one of the main side effects of this decadence is that the original meaning of words is completely lost. An example of this can be found in the word narcissism, which I go over in one of my earlier videos. Very few people today know the correct meaning of narcissism. And I believe the same exact thing can be said about fascism. And there are a number of reasons why this happens. I'm not going to go into them in this video because then this video would be incredibly long. Essentially, I'm just bringing up this point so that you understand how I'm approaching this video. And this is far more troubling to me than any level of Orwellian Newspeak for one main reason. The main point of Orwellian Newspeak, or the idea behind it, was that if something can't be said, then it can't be thought. However, something could be thought of. Somebody can invent a word in the future, or they can rediscover a way to express that thing to be said. However, when there's a word with the wrong meaning, saying something with the wrong meaning, then basically you're thinking incorrectly. See, here, at least Orwellian Newspeak, you're not thinking at all. It's far worse to be thinking the wrong thing. It's kind of like, it's better to have no hope than to have false hope. It's the same exact thing. It's better to have no thought than a bunch of erroneous thoughts. Because even though you have no thought, you'll still have feelings. And if you have no thoughts, that means that you'll have room in your mind to meditate on those feelings. And the erroneous thoughts, on the other hand, will essentially work to silence those feelings. They will work to mislabel those feelings or pacify those feelings. They give the feeler of these feelings a false sense of security, which is exactly what happens with the erroneous definition of fascism that most people use today. So without further delay, let's look at how fascism is commonly understood today. So we'll start by looking at what Wikipedia has to say about fascism. So Wikipedia defines fascism as a form of radical right-wing, authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy, which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe. Now, see, I'm going to just put out there my first complaint about this. My first complaint about a definition of a word is usually that it's too ambiguous, too general. My complaint with this definition is that it's too narrow. And I'm not the only one who has this complaint. As you can see with this screenshot, I really wish I remembered where I got it from, but it says that, each group described as fascist has at least some unique element, and many definitions of fascism have been criticized as either too wide or narrow, and this is one of those definitions that are far too narrow. It's too, only this is fascism. This is how you should define fascism. Anything that isn't outside of this is not fascism. So basically my complaint is, if we use this definition of fascism, that means a left-wing regime can't be fascist, and not only can a left-wing regime not be fascist, but if the regime is not ultranationalist, or if it's not nationalist at all, then it can't be considered fascist, right? However, I do approve of the rest of the definition. Authoritarian, dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy. Those characteristics can be applied to either a right-wing regime, a left-wing regime, a centrist regime, or even an alien regime if you'd like. And of course I mean extraterrestrial alien, not over-the-border alien. Or more importantly, you can even apply them to private companies, which I'm going to do right now. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and others are now pushing authoritative sources, so that covers the authoritarian part. And they most definitely exercise dictatorial power under the guise that it's a private company. Even though they're platforms, not publishers, and platforms have a different set of rules and regulations. And of course these companies use that dictatorial power to forcibly suppress opposition and strongly regulate their societies or their platforms under the excuse of, economic reasons. So all of these companies are most definitely behaving in a fascist manner. They are most definitely fascist. However, because I'm a very needy person, I'm still unsatisfied with this definition of fascism. Sure, this definition is good enough for us to be able to definitively say that these companies or these corporations or these platforms are most definitely fascist, but I want a definition that explains or elaborates on exactly what is being done or what is happening with this dictatorial power, this suppression of opposition, this regulation or regimentation of society and the economy. What is the goal of fascism? What is fascism trying to achieve with this dictatorial power, this suppression of opposition, and this strong regimentation of society and the economy? In order to realize the true nature of fascism, in order to figure out what its real agenda is, we're going to have to look at the etymology of fascism. And according to our good friends over at Wikipedia, fascism comes from the Italian term fascismo, which is derived from fascio, meaning a bundle of sticks. You're going to have to pardon my pronunciation. I don't know if I'm saying those words correctly. I don't speak Italian. I'm a little Italian, but I don't speak it. So it means a bundle of sticks, which ultimately comes from the Latin word fasces. And this was the name given to political organizations in Italy known as fasci, groups similar to guilds or syndicates. According to Mussolini's own account, the Fascist Revolutionary Party was founded in Italy in 1915. The fascists came to associate the term with the ancient Roman fasces, or fascio latorio, a bundle of rods tied around an axe, an ancient Roman symbol of the authority of the civic magistrate, carried by his lictors, which could be used for corporal and capital punishment at his command. So from all of this, our next clue to understanding fascism is going to come from this fasces. So from all of this, our next clue to understanding fascism is going to come from this fasces. And I'm just going to skip all the nuance and say that this is actually a visual representation of what fascism is. This bundle of sticks. We can ignore the axe part. It's not very necessary. I could talk about the axe and its symbolism to authority and how bundling the sticks together gives strength to that axe head and how the axe head can represent the dictator or the state. But let's not go there. I don't have time for that. You guys don't have time for that. We have busy lives. So what fascism actually is the bundling of people. All of the characteristics of fascism that we went over before, the dictatorial power, the forcible suppression of opposition, and the strong regimentation of society and the economy, are all serve the purpose to get people into a bundle. See, you need a dictator. You cannot have a multi-party rule if you're trying to get everyone into a single bundle. So of course you need a single ruler. And of course, in a fascist state, when they are trying to get everyone into a single bundle, when they're trying to get everyone to conform to the same thing, you cannot have any sort of opposition. So of course, you need to use that dictatorial power to forcefully suppress any opposition. You cannot have anyone outside of that bundle. And this is also why they have a strong regimentation of society and the economy, because this bundle cannot be contradicted. If there is a work of art that may contradict the philosophy of the bundle, it must be eliminated, because it might make people think or step outside that bundle. You cannot have that. And the same thing with the economy. You can't have impoverished people, you can't have a mixture of classes in the economy. You need them all in a bundle, and this is why communism is also a form of fascism. And actually, I did manage to find a definition of fascism that says precisely this. At vocabulary.com, it says, fascism is a way of ruling that advocates total control of the people. Fascism comes from the Latin fascio, meaning a bundle or political group. In fascism, the people are looked at as a bundle, one body that must be controlled by the government with absolute force. Let's take everything that we just learned now and play a little game called Can You Spot the Fascism? And we're going to play this game using the Axios interview with the CEO of Google.
Really prevent borderline content which doesn't exactly violate policies which need to be removed, but which can still cause harm.
So the borderlines that he's actually referring to is the borderlines of the bundle. You cannot have, in a fascist state, anything or anybody outside of that bundle. And in this case, this state of fascism, or this bundle that they're trying to get us in, is so screwy, it's so messed up, and so insecure with itself that it can't even have somebody near the borders of the bundle. And it's funny too, because I'm sure that this guy loves to preach tolerance, doesn't he?
And so we are working hard. It's a hard computer science problem. It's also a hard societal problem, because we need better frameworks around what is hate speech, what's not.
And there goes another characteristic right there, the desire to regiment society. He admits it himself. This is a societal problem to him. He needs to keep society within this bundle. Very sick shit right here, people. And more disturbing is his smile. This is the smile of somebody who thinks he just managed to dupe people. This is the smile of someone that is experiencing what is commonly referred to as duper's delight. This is the smile of someone that is experiencing what is commonly referred to as duper's delight.
And how do we as a company make those decisions at scale and get it right?
And here he's referring to himself as a company, of course, because that's their excuse, that they're a private company, so they can be as fascistic as they want to. And the last comment I'm going to make about this Axios interview is I want to comment on why they use this interviewer, the person interviewing the CEO. They use this person to gaslight people. See, it's actually rather brilliant. The whole thing is about online bullying and controlling it for the safety of others, and then you put this thing there that is definitely going to trigger people into saying something offensive, and then there they go. They can then say, see, we need to regulate this hate speech, this online bullying and harassment. Now, the next and last video that we're going to look at is a video, I believe the original title of it is, This is what mind control looks like. And sure, this video is most definitely what mind control looks like. But more importantly, it's what fascism looks like. This is precisely the kind of news reporting you would find in a fascist state.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest
responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely
dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Dangerous.
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Extremely
Dangerous to our democracy.
So instead of calling this kind of news fake news, we should call it what it really is, and that is fascist news. Now, a question we should be asking ourselves after seeing this extreme case of fascist news is how far back does fascism go in America? Now, if you remember earlier, I went over what Mussolini said about fascism in Italy, and he said that the Fascist Revolutionary Party was actually founded in Italy in 1915. Well, what if I told you that by 1916, fascism found its way to America? And of course, this is just officially. Now, what evidence do I have for fascism existing in America by at least 1916? Well, believe it or not, it was on the currency. That's right, in 1916, just 1 year after Mussolini himself claimed fascism was established or founded, or at least the Fascist Revolutionary Party, was founded in Italy, 1 year later, the United States decided to use the symbol of fascism, the fascis, on the back of the United States dime. This design is called the Mercury design. And it's funny because the Wikipedia says that, the design symbolizes unity and strength. And I'm sure that's exactly what the fascists said too when they used the symbol. But let's be honest, it symbolizes fascism, and there is absolutely no coincidence that it should be placed on the back of the United States dime just 1 year after Mussolini claims the Fascist Revolutionary Party was founded in Italy. It was placed there just 1 year after the Fascist Revolutionary Party was founded in Italy because, to paraphrase JFK, around the world there exists a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. And that conspiracy is to keep things how they have been for at least the last 6,000 years. And that is to have a majority of people serving and basically being slaves for a small elite minority. Or, as the fascis symbolizes, to have the sticks bundled together to serve the axe. To serve and strengthen the axe head.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match.